Face reveal. Hello. Bet you didn't expect this. Pretty much, I can't sustain the style of editing I was trying to do before. So I've decided I'm going to make longer and much less edited videos where I'm just talking to the camera like this. I'm not going to be looking at you because that's awkward. I'd rather see what I'm talking about. If any of you know the skate YouTuber Gifted Hater, I'm pretty sure most of you don't. But I'm going to do what he does, so you can call me Fashion Gifted Hater. Anyway, I hope you've overcome the shock of seeing my face if you're following me on TikTok. If you just found me on YouTube, you probably don't care. I thought, why not look at the Spring Summer 23 menswear show that happened over the last 2 weeks. I'll be looking at the shows where I have something to actually say about it. Don't forget, this is all my opinion. I'm all for discussion. That's what I'm trying to create. Discussion. Let's start with the best of it. And I think what else is the best of it, if not Kiko Kostadinov, the pinnacle of modern menswear. Shout out to this Vogue writer for doing a good job of capturing the atmosphere and talking about the show notes. I have some examples later of some terrible writers. It's one guy. It's one guy who does most of the write-ups, and it's so bad it's funny. I like this last detail in the write-up where they talked about Kiko holding a party, and most people didn't know who he was. That's kind of funny. I would know Kiko. I'm your biggest fan. I would know. His inspiration and references this season are as obscure as ever. I made a whole video on why I like him, and this collection definitely ticks all my boxes. Interestingly enough, he actually looked into his Bulgarian roots and his country's history with the Ottoman Empire, which is interesting because he's never actually looked into his ancestry before. I like how Kiko opens this collection because if there's one thing we see enough of during Men's Fashion Week, it's suits. There are enough suits in the world to clothe every person and probably animal. Yet brands will continue to release the same suit for spring, summer and fall, winter. Now, I'm not really saying let's not make any more suits. Kiko exemplifies what I'm saying. Make new suits, change and play with the silhouette. He added 2 buttons to the nipples, nice touch. With the second suit, he turns the pants inside out in this color blocking style, and in the third, he transforms the blazer. Also notice how androgynous these suits are. You see it in a lot of his collections. He subverts traditional menswear, but subtly. This whole collection is very wearable. I literally wish I could afford any of these items, but that's my biggest problem with the Keeks. He does use very high quality material, so I guess I'm the problem. The styling is more conservative, but still subversive. He changes inspiration from season to season, but his design style is still there. You can tell he's just generally a fan of design and pushing the boundary. I love this distressing. Most of the time it's used to make a garment have that interesting aged look. Here it looks purposeful, like the jumpers are brand new and they're not imitating that distressed punk look. They're being used for the interesting shape that distressing creates, it's a great idea. This cardigan, oh god, this cardigan, man. I am a sucker for fabric manipulation. I love this. I love it. It's amazing. The detailing on all these looks are just incredible. The silhouettes, the colors are enough to draw you in, and then once you're up close, there's all this fine detailing which makes it all the more special to me. I love it. I'm just crushing on him at this point. Okay, these last 3 looks, I don't care for. I get the reference, they mention it in the write-up, but I just visually dislike heavy patchwork. Aesthetically, does not work for me. Also, these new shoes, they look like the gel Nexpas he made with Asics, and I did not like the wetsuit boot look. I love you, Kiko. Let's move on. That was our very strong. That was our song. I really like you, Kiko. I really like you. I'm not ready for. Well, I am ready, but I'm not sure if you're ready. Why Project? Now, at first, I love this collection, but looking at it again, I was tricked. This is something that annoys me. This is meant to be a menswear show, but there's also a women's resort show or something happening at the same time. I wish I could look at the shows separately, and let me tell you why. Obviously, clothes should be androgynous. Men and women should be able to wear the same stuff. That's not really the case for men. Socially, I like when a designer tries to make the box larger and introduce more gender neutral, even feminine aspects into menswear. It makes menswear more interesting and normalizes it for guys who may not be comfortable to wear stuff that isn't strictly classified as menswear. That's why I like how Kiko is doing it, because I think it's efficient. It's working towards that goal of, opening up menswear more. Here's my problem with this show, and others like it. The men are wearing typical men's clothing, and the women are wearing anything. And obviously women's wear is much more interesting and versatile than menswear, which makes me think this collection is better than what it really is. If only the women get to wear all types of clothing, then it's not really an androgynous collection. One reason I like menswear is this restriction that designers have to deal with. You can immediately tell who's just making the same stuff over and over and who's trying to make something meaningful with menswear. Now, it's Y Project, so the menswear is still great and experimental and everything that Y Project is. And it has some androgyny, like these invisible straps. But it's annoying having to wade through when I'm only trying to look at what is being targeted at men. You could say men could wear any of the clothes in this collection if they wanted to, but let's only put them in the typically masculine clothing and the women into whatever. That's not really advocating for androgynous fashion. Not every show has to do this, but if you're putting all genders together, I assume that's what you're going for, is a gender neutral or androgynous collection. And if it's not, then put them separate. This could just be Vogue's fault because they have this distinction of menswear and ready-to-wear, but when you actually click into them, they both go to the same show, which why is it even there as an option? Okay, back to the show. That's all I have to say on that. Let me know your thoughts. I thought the women's wear was really great and menswear not as good. I have to point out this elusive print, one of the best things ever. He did a lot of these prints in the women's wear, but not like this where it's like a continuation of the garment underneath. I was really confused when I saw this, and I wish Glenn did it more in the menswear, but I guess not. These all over dragon prints, I'm not much of a fan in general. In general, not the strongest Y project showing. I like last year's more, but it may also be the women's wear I liked more because I don't really remember the men's wear too strongly last year. This invisible strap concept I liked, but I don't get why it had to be overshadowed by also showing the model's nipples. Should have been a low cut top, but not nipple level low. I get the whole conversation about men and women's nipples, like the women's nipples are covered, but why are you bringing up this comparison here? You're overshadowing this cool concept you've done. Let the innovation stand for itself, not for free the nipple movement. Next show, Vetements with no vowels. I hope that's how they want you to say it. Vetements with no vowels. I did find Vetements getting a bit stale, and I like this. This show. I mean, I'm not a Vetements fanatic, so this is the first time I'm seeing this diffusion line. Like I think I heard about it before, but I just never looked into it. I don't know why. Now, this collection was actually a perfect example of what I was saying earlier. It's both men, women, non-binary people modeling androgynous clothing. Why? Because look at what the men are wearing. Crop tops, short shorts, showing a lot of skin, things that aren't typical of menswear. And the way the women are being dressed is equally gender neutral. There is no clear line between what is for women and for men. So it's perfect to put them together and show that these are not gender specific clothes, but person specific. This collection has a lot of the Vetements staples, but toned down, a lot less irony, graphics, and oversizing. Just interesting looks that don't solely exist in the time that they're made in. Seeing these clothes without those aspects does make me see how normal the clothes actually are. Like most of these looks could be created with cheap thrift shop finds, but then to complete the look, you'd have to buy one of these rare items, like the cropped blazers or thigh-high boots. I like the show overall. Curious to see how they will continue this line, and I haven't seen the previous shows, so I should have looked into it before, but I didn't. I'll look into it after, and maybe all of this will be void because they've already done this. I don't know. Craigie Green. Craigie Green's always a delight to see. What I like about Craig's shows is how he mixes in wearable stuff with goddamn sculptures. They both work off each other and build a universe for his clothes to exist in. I think it also helps drive interest towards his work without being gimmicky. We'll talk about gimmicks later, soon actually. Very soon, the next collection. I disliked how the looks were all very singularly colored. I made a TikTok recently about why I don't like these type of looks. Making everything monochromatic makes it really easy to just kind of gloss over and like not look too much into these looks. Everything just kind of blends together. All the... What was I saying? So let's look at more gimmicky design. This J.W. Anderson show. First, let's look at what this Vogue writer said. He said, "The BMX handlebars, shattered skate decks, and CDs were there to remind us of the intrinsic ephemerality of modernity and its inevitable descent into anachronism." So I translated this into simple English, and what's basically being said is modern inventions more or less exist during the short period of time when they were first invented until they become outdated by the latest modern technology. And this stuff existing today means it's outlived its realistic lifespan. I had to write that up so I would remember. So skateboarding and BMXs, outdated. Old. They're both very much alive. I can't say the same for DVDs or you, Vogue writer. You know, skaters gonna get you. They're crazy. You mentioned skateboarding anywhere outside skateboarding, they're on you, bro. And then this guy goes on to say that canned goods don't fit into this category. Yeah, neither do skateboards or BMXs. Canned goods are still being produced. So are skateboards and BMXs. Looking at the clothes, like looking at some of these looks, I wonder if these items are actually for sale and if they're meant to be worn, because they're not like Craig Green sculptures. Like the purpose of these is more ambiguous. Is it for show? Is it to wear? I don't know. I can't imagine someone wearing this, but in the end, it's just a jumper with an item put in through it, you know? I thought this was also just a bad collection aesthetically and in its meaning, because Anderson himself is quoted in the write-up talking about modernity. So like what the fucking Vogue writer said must be relevant and to what Anderson is going for. This stuff to me is like if you put pop art on clothes, like Andy Warhol's pop art. It's very matter of fact, in your face pieces of pop culture which work on large canvas, but taking those items and putting them directly onto clothes in this way, it doesn't work. I mean, what kind of creativity does this take? Like these Rembrandt prints. He was a Dutch painter who was very ahead of his time with his etchings and paintings and documentation of nature, and you're putting his face on a piece of clothing like this in this generic print style. It does not give off the spirit of Rembrandt. This is merch. It really means nothing. It's like corporate merch. It's so surface level, which is the worst level. Like putting these huge barcodes, I wonder what that represents. Fashion and consumerism. Pfft. Thought-provoking stuff, man. I don't like it. I don't like any of this. Only thing I liked were these leather skirt short things. I miss old JW Anderson. He's always been hit or miss for me, honestly, but I prefer his earlier shows. We might as well go to Loewe. So first, they let some seeds germinate in some clothes for 20 days before the show. And it's disappointing. Because it's been done and better. B. Fremderman, sorry if I got that wrong, did the exact same thing with clothes on a wash line as an art display. Though not on a runway. Like my point on the JW Anderson show. And also if you didn't know, Loewe is creatively directed by JW Anderson, same guy. This concept works better as an art display, not on a runway. Beth Espinette has also done something similar, although I'm less familiar with her work, just thought I'd mention her. Looking past the gimmicks though, and yes, that includes the screens, the clothes were just spectacular. I love the colors, the textures, so many textures. The shoes were also distinct, puffy, like those Balenciaga Mickey Mouse shoes we saw. This fading is incredible. This blue, man. I love this blue. And these are better than the Yeezy jackets. They just are. They just look like they fit better. It's a shame not as many people will buy them though, and Kanye will probably call Loewe out as well for making these. But this collection, ironically enough, feels very modern. Postmodern, even. And I don't think the plants belong with the rest of this collection, to be honest. What are they doing there? From a distance, the Loewe logo kind of looks like a QR code, right? Kind of lit, honestly. Does anyone really care for Milan Fashion Week? Like, who is excited to see Versace, Fendi, the two dickheads that are Dolce and Gabbana, Philip Lane, D Squared? How is that still going? Gucci was supposed to be at Milan, 1 p.m. Gucci's not on Vogue Runway. Strange. I was going to talk about Elix and Givenchy, but it's a lot of crap. First off, too many designers creatively direct more than one brand. Look at this question. Why so many logos? Because it's been the same for 70 years and I love wearing it. Says Matthew, walking out, no logos. Bet you weren't ready for that question.
Why did you feel you needed so many logos?
Because we have a beautiful logo, because our logo hasn't been changed in 70 years, and I just love it. Yeah, I love wearing it. And then that's it.
What a guy. He definitely just makes clothes that he thinks looks cool. Cool. Oh, these are sick, bro. Givenchy on my crotch. I wanted to touch on the Comme des Garçons shows, too. They're as Comme des Garçons as ever. When I first got into fashion, I was obsessed with this brand as a whole. I thought play was super lame, but I would have died for a t-shirt like this. And to be honest, for old time's sake, I would still wear it. I like it. It's pretty cool. The runway shows are so weird and definitely very strange to people who don't know what CDG is about. And I was really on my high horse about it because I got it, you know, I got CD. But after some introspection, I realized I don't really like a lot of the aesthetic aspects about the brand. They do lots of suits, which often differ in textures and color, but it's always the same similar tight fit, which I don't like. Same with the pants. It's the same tapered fit. I dislike a lot of the patterns in general. I don't like punk aesthetics, which is a big thing with the brand. And with Junya Watanabe as well, he pretty much does the same stuff. I don't care for heavy patchwork, and I usually find myself thinking a lot of CDG is ugly and outdated, which is sort of the point. I get that, but I'm also allowed to not like it, you know? The references are usually incredible, and it's always interesting to read about. Like, I was reading about this year's En Plus collection. I think it's En Plus. I fucking said En Plus in a TikTok before, and everyone fucking goofed on me for it, but that's how I heard some French guy talking about it, so I don't know. No one tells you these things. How do you pronounce the CDGH+? The menswear is just not appealing to me. Like, I still love the mainline ready-to-wear. There's nothing like it, but I don't think the spirit of it is really translated well into menswear. Somehow it feels like Ray's in a box, and she puts herself in this box. Like, she has her own rules for menswear. And she's also in this box by having about 10 million lines. There's still a special place in my heart for CDG, and I've just come to accept that it's not for me. And that doesn't mean I'm lame or I don't get it. Bruh. I got it. But now I've transcended getting it to a whole different level that I'm past it. I'm just so much fucking better. Also, about them having so many lines, I don't like that either. Like, why do you have to produce so much stuff? From a brand I already don't like Louis Vuitton or whatever, any brand from Milan Fashion Week, I don't care that they produce so much clothing. I already don't like them. But it does bum me out that CDG does it. If Rick Owens can make his crazy collections every season without having to produce a play line, why can't Comme des Garçons? Is it because there's a lot less of a market for her stuff? Because it's not good? It's not really relevant? Okay, damn, I feel like I just did a public breakup with a long-term partner. I just lost interest in them. How sad. I don't know if I can go on. Most of what I just said, by the way, can also be applied to Yohji Yamamoto too. Both these brands still have incredible past shows and pieces, and I have a huge respect for both of them. But they're old. I didn't mean that. There's newer, younger designers to be excited about. There are more in tune with the youth. What can I say? I'm actually curious about what other people think about it. So please tell me, what are your thoughts about CDG today in the current context of fashion? I think I've looked at enough shows. Last one I'll do is Prada. What do you know? They started off with 3 normal ass suits. Oh yeah, remember the Vogue writer for J.W. Anderson, the ephemeral modernity acronym Chad? This is another one of his lines, okay, for the Prada show. So what was the answer to today's Prada wordle? Chode? Was it chode? Oh, choice. That's not even a 5-letter word, you plonker, man. Jeez, and you thought that was cringe. Take a look at this. They have to be trolling. It took 2 people to design this. I also don't like gingham. Generally, patterns are an iffy thing for me. They're either great or really bad. Very little in between because the pattern usually takes the center of the look. So gingham looks good on picnic baskets, and yeah, I think that's about it, honestly. I did like the idea of swapping the uses of leather and gingham. You know, leather is traditionally for outerwear, and gingham, I guess, innerwear. I can only imagine how hot you'd get in these leather vests and shorts, but I like them. They look cool. Also noticed some Kiko-esque stripes and patterns happening, which, you know, I think they look very good with the leather. I really don't see the point in all these suits, man. Fuck it. Fuck the environment. Am I right? Can't live with it. Can't live without it. Can't live with it. Can't live without it. Everything probably looks different. Sorry, I got distracted for a second. Like, honestly, man, most men will own like 3 suits in their lifetime, and they'll probably just rent them. And you know what? Same goes for denim. Surprisingly, not as much denim as I expected this menswear season, but there's just as many pairs of normal ass jeans as there are suits every season, and I'm done with it. Let's take a year off. I think that's the way. I think let's take a year off. I forgot Rick Owens. Ricky. This fucking Vogue writer. Why is he the only one doing these write-ups? Armageddon. Apocalypse. End of days. This Rick Owens show was the end of the world. What are you talking about? Or at least that is what the 3 2-meter-ish across orbs... What? Or at least that is what the 3 2-meter-ish across orbs that were set alight by technicians slowly lifted to a crane above us. Why is this still going? And then dropped to a sizzling impact in the Palais the Tokyo fountain. We're there to represent. What is this writing? This isn't a fucking coming to age movie. Why is he narrating like this? It's not an opening sequence. Look, I'm not a writer, but I did not enjoy reading that. Well, I did because of how bad it was. So I guess he's a good writer. Fuck, you got me. Okay. I forgot what was supposed to be represented by the time you said we're there to represent. This writer is still in the video. Like, the collection was standard Rick Owens, which is always good. I especially liked everything about this translucent leather. I think the only people who've done it before is like CCP, Carl Christian Pole, and Shruly Recht. With what Rick does, it's hard to get boring. But I think this show was just a bit boring. Yeah. I like how he expanded the color palette. It was still mostly monochromatic, which, whatever. I personally like a little more variety in color. But did you have to go with yellow and pink? Or fucking rainbow iridescence? It looks ridiculous. Like, in black, they're standard Rick Owens clothes. Like the same stuff that was shown in the rest of the show. But then all of a sudden, it's a circus. And look, Rick himself comes out in the end in all black. I'm curious about who this pink and yellow stuff is for. Because I would argue that pink and yellow is the opposite of black. Not complementary opposites, but like, I only wear black because I don't want to look like that. Opposites. I don't know, it's a funky one for sure. I like the long ass pants. It makes for a good effect, but Rick is a real masochist making these models walk downstairs. Maybe the writer was talking about the model's fate on the runway. Armageddon. Apocalypse. End of days. I want to see better colors from Rick because he's basically nailed everything else. He has thrown in color in his previous collections. I never think it's been this extreme. Let me know if he's done stuff like this before. I don't think he has, and I don't think this was. I don't like it. Some quick shout outs. I'm a bit worn out at this point. It's hard to look at so much fashion and not get a little numb. A Walter van Beirendonck show is always a pleasure, always a unique aesthetic, and a mix of wearable crazy outfits. Wearable to crazy outfits. He does sort of what I want Comme des Garçons to do. So if you like the M, then you'll love Walter. Aluwalia is a relatively new designer on the scene. I love where her inspiration comes from. Her earlier work is very clearly like amateur student work, but this collection was great. I dive into her ancestry and the aesthetics of the many countries of Africa. It's executed very well. It looks like expensive designer clothing, so I'm happy to see her getting better while also representing a place that is often neglected in European high fashion. Opposite of a shout out to Om Plissé Issey Miyake, where's normal Issey Miyake? I don't think Homme Plissé should get its own line. I'd rather see it integrated into his normal shows. Fuck Homme Plissé. Honestly. And finally, Robin Lynch, an Irish-born designer from the Aran Islands. That's next to where I'm from. She's based in London, and I really like her sportswear. I like how she's modernized the classic Aran knit sweater. I would love to have one day. But how are you going to put your model in Crocs? It's the middle of June in Ireland and in the rest of the world. And it's been raining here for like a week. Wearing Crocs are a risk, but maybe that's what she's trying to say. So respect. Okay. Thanks for watching. I hope this was informative and enjoyable to watch. Don't take it too seriously. It's all just my opinions. I'm just a guy. Just some guy with 50,000 followers on TikTok. No problem. I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments. I want to upload more, but it's tough. Oh yeah, follow for more.